What is home care? Home care is a care option that allows an older adult to live in his or her own home and be cared for by a professional. Home care services can often vary, depending on the older adult's health scenario. They can include things like personal care, bathing assistance, transportation, and specialized Alzheimer's care. Home care is also flexible in scheduling, ranging from a few hours per day to around-the-clock service. Most providers will create a unique care plan tailored to the needs of the individual. Then from there, a schedule is set for a professional caregiver to arrive at the appointed times and provide one-on-one care in the home. The three most common reasons for home care: 1. Life enhancement through social interaction and companionship. This includes such things like cooking meals, playing games, and transportation to appointments. 2. Acute care for chronic conditions such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. 3. Safety of having someone to provide personal care and administer medication, reducing the possibility of pandemic exposure. To find out more about home care, visit homeinstead.com.
Good morning and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. As you know, this is the second annual No Place Like Home conference, and hopefully you all get the reference of No Place Like Home. That was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And you know what? Sometimes it feels that way, and we were hoping maybe with the great folks that have agreed to be on with us to kind of work through that a little bit and help, I don't know, can I say normalize?
Yeah.
A little bit? We could normalize it a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. So don't go away. Thank you to our sponsors, Home Instead and Blue Cross of Idaho, True Blue Special Needs Plan. You should call and get information. I'm just telling you, you should call and get information. And our host is Garden Plaza at Valley View, as you can see down here. And they've been so good to us. They've given us a great room to work from, and they've given us internet, thank you. And they bring us food. And it's really good food too, by the way. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Our approach for the whole conference has been, well, we call it the sandwich generation. And some of us that are in between, I'll call us the bologna, right? We've got the bread, and then it's us in the middle. And so we've been trying to approach, some things to help out being that piece in the middle. And with us right now is Yevette, and is it Saiz? Saiz, Primero, and she's number one this morning, so that works out really, really well. And it says Family Caregiver Navigator.
Yes.
And that's with the Area Agency on Aging. Mm-hmm. And now, help me, does that fall under the Department of Health and Welfare?
No, so we are an entity on our own. We do cover Region 3 of Health and Welfare.
Oh, okay,
so
very good.
That's where that kind of Region 3 reference comes to.
All right, very good. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to talk a couple different things, but if I can hit some of the highlights on here, it'll help people understand maybe a little bit where you're coming from.
Sure.
You're going to do the powerful tools for caregivers, which is really a great program, by the way. Mm-hmm. And you're going to do it in Espanol.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
Okay, so those of you that have been waiting for some help and Spanish is maybe your primary language.
Yes. So Powerful Tools as Caregivers is a really great succession kind of support / tool building kind of group. And it's the first time we've been able to offer it in Spanish here in Idaho, so it's really great. We're excited. We started our class 2 weeks ago.
Oh, very good.
Full house both nights, so we are
Excellent.
very excited. Yes.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes.
For those of you that maybe are like me and don't speak Spanish, and that's not a big part of your culture, you don't know how big a deal this is to be able to go and get trained in your primary language. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, is that all you? Can we say congratulations? You did a good job.
Yes.
Very good.
No,
Excellent. Then
thank you.
congratulations. You did a very good job. I just wondered if there were, other people, but
Well, I do have a co-facilitator, Gabby, and she's helped me facilitate all of them. But
very good.
yeah, we were the first two trained here for it. So.
Excellent, excellent. And you're a native Idahoan with Mexican heritage.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Glad to have you here. And you have a traditional multi-generational structure. Tell us a little bit what that means.
Yeah. So in traditional culture, we tend to live intergenerational. So I was raised around my grandparents, if not with them at times. And I currently raise my children. My dad's my neighbor, and my mom lives about 2 miles away. So we're very involved with them. And we also were able to participate in caring for my grandmother while she was still with us up until about March.
She just recently passed.
She recently passed, but she did live a very full life, and my children were able to really experience that, those traditions, those cultural values that she shared.
Really anchors the traditional cultural activities and values and stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's something that you can't put a price on.
No.
It's
No.
priceless.
So we're going to talk in a minute because there's upsides and some challenges of being in an intergenerational community. And we used to do it in this country, in this part of the country, absolutely all the time. But we've moved away from the agricultural, and so kids travel. I have kids from Sacramento to Memphis. I haven't really decided that I want to live in either place yet, but we have kids here and kids in Utah, so it is more difficult now to do that. But there are cultures that hang on to that. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know. You've got 3 kiddos.
Yep, 3 kiddos.
Very good. Well, I think we've established your credentials to talk about this. So, and the Mexican culture is not the only culture that does this, but it's the one that touches us, pretty directly, at least here in Idaho. And I know that many of the agricultural communities, lots of folks have that, proximity to family, to parents and grandparents. And I think that's awesome for the kids, by the way. Just me talking about it. So let's talk first. Let's talk the upsides first, and then we'll talk a little bit about some challenges and maybe how to meet them.
Yeah.
How to address them. So talk to us a little bit about the upsides. You mentioned a few things already.
Yeah. So the upsides, like I said, one of them was my children being able to be around my grandmother a lot and learning from her while she was still here, and them learning to care for people, because that's very important in our community. And I think just in our communities in general, it's very important to care for others, care for your neighbors. So them learning that altruistic value was really important for us. Another upside was that my grandmother lived on her own, her and my grandfather, until he was alive as well. They lived in their own home. And so it was a lot of us coming in to help them
Yeah.
when they needed it. Sometimes they'd ask, sometimes it was us going and just, let us clean your house, let us take you to the doctors. Did you need anything?
Okay, wait just a second. Got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because yesterday we talked that sometimes those receiving the care are not as willing to accept the help. Did you run into this?
No, actually, I think since we grew up in that kind of intergenerational set, it just was natural. It's a natural.
So
give take.
no pride on the part of Grandpa that we can do this ourselves.
No,
Oh,
no,
that's interesting.
they
Well,
were-
good.
We couldn't touch his garden. I don't remember to this day a day that he said, "Oh yeah, come and clean my garden." No, couldn't touch the garden.
But the rest of the yard, maybe.
Yes. the
Okay,
rest of the
and
yard,
and
yes.
raking the leaves, that was okay too.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, I don't know if my kids are listening, but raking the leaves, that would be great.
Yes.
Awesome. And then lost Grandpa. So Grandma now on her own. She's still living on her own at that point. And did you pick up the pace? Did you spend more time? How did that work?
So my grandparents had 8 children, and then each of them had about 2 or 3 of us, and then we each had about 2 or 3. So I think we all just kind of stepped in as needed. My grandma and grandpa ended up living their last years in New Mexico, where they're originally from. So that did become a challenge, because now half of us were over here in Idaho, where they raised us, and then half of us were over there. So at times it was, making those long distance trips, or just being supportive from home, calling and finding out where grandma needed to get something from, information.
Did you
like that.
learn to do Zoom with her?
She didn't like Zoom.
I got it. Yeah. But the phone was okay.
Yeah, phone calls. She loved getting phone calls from people.
So what I'm hearing is, in order to maintain that, kids and grandkids have to make an investment.
Yes.
This is not, we're done. It's one and done.
No.
But you made an investment.
You do. And, until you mentioned it right now, I didn't even think about any kind of investment. To me, it was just very natural, and I think it was like that with a lot of us. There was never a second thought like, okay, it's time to go visit grandma and pack up the kids and go. So.
Well, yeah. I'm not speaking in terms of, I've got to go do this, but it's an investment. But sometimes it helps us to remember that she might not be here very long,
Mm-hmm.
and we better take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So sometimes kids don't get along. They sometimes don't see the world the same.
Yes.
Did you run into any challenges that way?
Oh, yeah. So, like I said, there is a lot of us. There are a lot of us. And we don't always see eye to eye. We tried our best to navigate through things, and there was disagreements. But in families, it's always expected. I have an aunt and an uncle, and they were kind of the 2 primary decision makers for my grandmother. And then a younger uncle that was kind of the primary caregiver. And so, in the end, they were kind of the people who made the big decisions.
And did they step in and kind of organize things, or did you picked it up and went down? I mean, how did that work out?
So in our family, like I said, if we saw a need that needed to be met, we would figure out how to get it done. Whoever was able to, had the means or the time to do it, they would go do it. If not, and there was a need, usually it was my aunt or uncle or someone to say, hey, we need some help out here, please help. And that's how.
And
we
people
do it.
responded.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So I'm not saying that the non-Mexican culture doesn't do any of that,
Mm-hmm.
but they tend to travel a little bit more. Kids are spread out. Anything that you can tell us about, your situation And I know how families are. And sometimes they disagree just to disagree. I mean, that's just, we all have that one sibling.
Yeah.
Do you have some thoughts that we could share, even if we don't have, say, grandma next door or mom and dad in the house? Are there some things, some insights that you see that maybe we could look at and incorporate?
Yeah, so a lot of things that we see, so with the area agency on aging, we see people calling in to find resources for their loved ones, and they may be from out of town. The project that I worked on specifically is the Family Caregiver Navigator Program. So we have caregivers calling in, and like I said, they may not be from this area specifically, but their loved one is here. So they're calling, and I had mentioned that I would call around and find out, what are programs that could help grandma, or help my aunts that are there, or my uncles that are there, while they're caring for them. And that's what we can do here, is just kind of help our loved ones from afar, and make sure they're getting what they need. I think it's hard to know on a daily basis what they need, but you can kind of get a pretty good idea. They might need some homemaking services. They might need Meals on Wheels and stuff like that. So those are things that we can do from here. And then when we do need to step in, maybe it's for something different.
Got it. So it seems to me that if grandma's living next door or she's living with us, then communication, can still be a challenge, but you've got eyes on. And so seeing a lot of this is a lot easier. So one thing then is the kids are calling, communication. There's, you got to figure it out.
With this powerful tools as caregivers, I highly recommend it. It gives you tools on how to communicate. And a lot of time, I think especially in our society, we are very instantaneous.
Yes.
So if we make a request and someone doesn't hear us the first time, we kind of just think or assume.
We moved on.
Yeah, they didn't want to help. And one of the main things is keep asking. Keep asking, because maybe the first time they didn't hear you. Maybe the first time they didn't understand what you were really
Got
needing.
it.
Yeah. So.
And possibly they didn't think they needed any help.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so the consistency,
Yes.
hang in there, don't drop it, don't go away, just hang in there. All right, so anything else from, the more positive side? I can think of one I've noticed in my family. We have a family reunion. My grandpa, so my dad's brother, sisters, brothers-in-law, but sisters, he had 7 sisters. Poor guy. We started 50-something years ago. We started doing these family reunions. I noticed that there was a severe drop-off when Grandma and Grandpa died. And then we worked, but then as, aunts passed away, those families tended to drop out a little bit. So having Grandma there can still kind of unite the family. Do you find that to be true? You talk to cousins a little bit more because Grandma's there?
Definitely. As I said, my grandma passed in March. So from even then to now, there's been a huge shift. And we're trying to work through that as a family, because we realize there still are 8 siblings. So we still all need to kind of work together. They're all aging. My parents are aging.
Yes.
So, there have been times that I've had to call my cousin because I'm out of town and my dad needs, an emergency, and she'll, go across town and go and check on my dad. So it's really important to see the value in that intergenerational mold.
Yeah. So talk to me later. We'll talk about family reunions. We had 220 at the one in June this year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So let's go to some of the challenges. It seems to me, as a grandparent myself, my kids aren't doing a good job raising their kids. You know, there's just things they could do better.
Oh, yeah. Heard that.
Okay, that's not entirely true, but you know, we have our way, right? And they're not doing it our way. So how does that play in? If I've got grandpa in the house or grandma, and I know it's grandmas, I've visited with grandma's hairbrush a couple of times, you know, I mean, you know, she was still, just because we're grandkids.
Yeah.
Do you run into that?
You do. I think that is one of the biggest challenges, especially as the caregivers. You know, you're there trying to help them and support them, and you're receiving criticism. That's
so unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
I think, you know, what I did anyways, and what I tried to do is just kind of listen, because it's wisdom and knowledge. And then from there, decide, you know, is that something that I really need to apply to my life? I don't believe in hitting. Do I really need to spank my child? Probably not.
No, but they believed that.
But they believed it, yes. I remember. You know, so it's all about creating boundaries on to how much you're going to allow other people's opinions, whether that be your grandparent or not.
So is that a sit-down conversation? Abuela, no, can't do that. Or is that just you take it and filter it?
So, you know, honestly, I'm thinking of my relationship with my parents.
Very good.
Yeah, because my grandma was always really supportive, and, you know, we couldn't do no wrong with my grandma. So I'm not gonna...
Everybody needs somebody like that in their lives.
Yes.
I'm just telling you, that is awesome. And they stick up to your mom and dad for you, and you're like, thank you.
Yes, very much so. But I'm thinking of my parents, you know, critiquing me raising my children while I'm there helping them.
Yeah. You'll do the same, by the way. Just.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I'll be very good at it. Very well.
I'm not saying that I ever do that, but yeah.
But my parents, they have their opinions and so on. And sometimes I, you know, take it up with them if I think it's something really important to talk about. And sometimes I go,
let them have their say.
Yeah.
And then you filter it as far as the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that means not at all.
Yes.
We're not going to even talk
Yes, sometimes it
about
means
it.
we're not going there.
I would think, I think this has happened to me, where Grandma and Grandpa were saying something, and it was confusing to me. You know, it was a situation, it was a little confusing, and then I had that conversation with my dad. You know, if it was his folks and if it was Mom's folks, we'd have that conversation, and they were always good to go. You know, that's not a bad thought. But yeah, so they encourage us to listen, pay attention, but not necessarily do everything that Grandpa or Grandma, you know, told us to do. I don't remember a lot Grandma or Grandpa telling the folks what to do. Not so much. I'm sure it happened though, and I think they did the same thing you did, and that is, okay. No, we're not going to discuss that. What else? What else are some of the struggles? Those of us that have not had parents in the home for an extended period maybe don't think of things like, well, there's privacy concerns, there's autonomy concerns, there's noise level concerns. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So all of those concerns are huge concerns, especially when you're living in intergenerational households. My grandfather was one of those people that, you know, at a certain time, it was time for bed, and you better go to bed. That means be quiet. And so, you know, when we were in Grandma and Grandpa's home, we knew the rules there. And when we were in our house, we knew the rules at our house. But, Grandpa and Grandma's rules always trumped, seemed.
Got it.
However, I will say that now, when there was a time where my father lived with me, he was a truck driver, so I didn't see any point in him.
And that helped a little bit because was he long haul?
Long haul.
So you didn't see him all the time.
Yeah. We didn't see him all the time. And so it was nice for him to come home on the weekends, and he would help me out around the house, and I would cook and clean and make sure he got ready for the week. The challenge became where, the raising and disciplining of children, he raised us and disciplined us in a certain way, and I didn't do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that did become a challenge, but that's where, boundaries come in. So really establishing, your home's boundaries and really being clear with both your children and your parents or the grandparents on what those boundaries are.
So talk to us a little bit about establishing that. Is that hey, Grandpa, this is my house. This is how we do things here. I mean, I'm guessing that you had to sit down and have a conversation.
It does come down to, especially like I said, when it's important things, to where you have to sit down, and we would sit down as a family, at times and be like.
Family council.
I'm all about family dinners.
Yeah.
That's one thing that my children know. Dinner time. I don't know what time, but there will be dinner.
And they're expected to be there?
Yeah, they're expected to be there. We don't eat at the living room and all that stuff. And that's when you talk about things. And I actually remember doing that with my grandparents. There was always dinner time, and everybody sat at the table. And when we needed to talk about something, that's where it was going to happen.
Oh, very good.
So, we would talk about it and say, your grandpa said he saw you guys doing this. Is this true? And, hash it out and say, okay, this is what we're going to go through. So then my dad started to see, how I was raising my children. And he kind of knew, okay, this is the way it's going to be.
So this is your experience.
Mm-hmm.
As you work in how many counties do you? 10 counties.
Yep. Yeah.
Of course, those 10 counties are the size of what? Delaware, Rhode Island, three states back, New Jersey.
Yes.
Do you see those same things in the multi-generational families? Is this something that you see quite a bit of?
Yeah, I think it's typical of a lot of families, whether they be Latino or from the white communities. They all, if they are intergenerational families, kind of come. These are common problems, and I think it's really important. These support groups and other groups that are out there are important for that same reason, because if we don't have siblings or cousins nearby, it's kind of hard to ask, is your parent doing this? Because my parent is.
And what did you do about it?
Yeah.
And help me.
Is this normal? Should I be feeling frustrated? And that's where those support groups and educational groups really come in.
Because sometimes it's just nice to know you're not the only one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're not the only one.
Does the church community, does that play into that? Is that a way to maybe also find out a little bit what's going on?
Yeah, I think a church, religious communities, just any kind of, the senior centers are very important. Any kind of groups that you feel comfortable in that have families, that's probably somewhere where you can find someone to reach out to. And the really great thing about within the 10 counties that we serve, a lot of them are rural counties, rural towns.
Yeah.
So they don't have these big agencies out there that can support them, but within them they have, their libraries that they, go and meet at and have little group sessions and so on. And they may be going for a book club, but they're actually receiving support.
Yeah. It's the conversation. It's
Yep.
the I want to say fraternity. It's the we're getting together, and you know me and I know you, just because of the similarities in the culture, in the way they were raised. So, talk to us a little bit about now caregiving in that situation. We're talking multi-generational. We got, grandma and grandpa, they decline. What's the pressure on, say, the parents, sons and daughters? Here's mom and dad, sons and daughters, and then hopefully you don't have teenagers yet.
My kids are 15, 19, and 24.
Okay, so you can certainly address this.
Yes.
Although each age group, if you have toddlers and younger, that's a different situation. I can get it, but teenagers kind of tend to be a challenge. We love them, and sometimes we just want to punch them in the head. But they're our kids. So talk to me. What are some things that we should be thinking about if that's where we find ourselves in that bologna
That
part of the sandwich?
Yeah. So I think one of the important things to think about if you're you're going to be in that kind of family situation, or you're starting to think, maybe I want my parent to age at home instead of, in a nursing home, or different options, is to understand that there's going to be times when you're going to feel pulled every which way. And as I said, my youngest is 15, and 15-year-olds are very high needs sometimes.
You could say that, yes.
Yes, everything from driver's ed to, who knows.
Well, there's band, there's choir, there's sports if they're doing sports, any of the other activities that they've got going on.
Yeah. So it's funny. My son, he's 15 and he's doing driver's ed right now. Well, he completed it, and so he has to have those hours in.
Yeah.
So guess who's the driver for everyone now? So if anyone needs to go to the doctor, if anyone needs to anything, I'm like, well, Diego's available. Diego. So that's my answer to one.
Very good.
Learn how to,
Yes.
make things work together. And just, I think just staying open to realizing that you're going to have a lot of asks from you. And probably the thing that will help you the most is searching for those resources, maybe in advance, just so that you know where to call when you need it.
Okay, so that was a conversation that we had a couple of times yesterday. Was you don't need to wait until the crisis to now start putting things together. And I'm not suggesting that parents in the home is a crisis, but it would be wise maybe to be thinking about this ahead of time.
Yes.
So I have some more to talk about that, but what resources, and tell us how to find them.
Yeah. So as I said, we have the Family Caregiver Navigator Program, and you can call us and we can help you find out. Our program is based on taking care of the caregiver. So we're wanting to make sure that you're staying healthy.
And that, by the way, that's not selfish.
No, not selfish.
And that's the first thing a lot of people think is, well, that's selfish for me to think about me.
Yeah.
My thought is if mom goes down, who's there? Who's going to do this?
Yeah. If something happened to me, there'd be a lot of people that'd be like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now?
Yes.
And I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but dinner doesn't get on the table unless mom is telling at least people what to do. So it's definitely something that you should be taking care of yourself. So if you're going to go into that situation, start looking for those resources. The Area Agency on Aging, they have a lot of resources available and at their disposal. And if we don't provide the actual service or subcontract. We know about all of the
Yeah.
services in the area, our information line.
So this is a good moment to put in how to get hold of the Area Agency on Aging. How's the best way to do that?
So the best way to do that is give us a call, and I will make sure to pass on the phone number. I have like 4 phone numbers.
Ah,
for us.
very good. All right.
So I don't want to give you the call to the executive director. I mean, you could call him; he'd answer. But
Wait a minute. Is there just one overall, like 1-800 number that people could, or do they need to dig in just a little bit?
no. So the area agency services all of Idaho.
So
but
you got
there's different,
lots of them. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, is there a website maybe that they could go to?
Yeah, you can always Google Area Agency on Aging, and we'll be the first ones to pop up.
Okay.
And then if you need an agency from a different area, you can always call our office, and we can get you to the right person.
Got it. Now, it seems important to me for people to understand that you have resources, yes, for the folks receiving care. That's great. Mm-hmm. But you also have resources for those providing the care.
Yeah.
Because that is I think that gets undervalued a lot, the importance of the caregiver, right? You've got a caregiver, you've got to keep them healthy and strong. Otherwise, we have a complete breakdown. So we need somebody there, mm-hmm. and hopefully it's you.
Hopefully.
Well, okay, so I'm the husband. There's a lot I can do. I can cook like 4 or 5 different things, and they're really good, but there are 4 or 5 different things that I can do. But it's not the same typically as mom and the daughter. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it many times, the daughter-in-law. So it's not even the son, it's a daughter-in-law that steps in. So I guess what I'm saying is pay attention to your own health, to your own well-being, and you have resources to help do that.
Yes, we have resources we know of, especially the Family Caregiver Navigator Program. We know about all different kinds of stuff, everything from if you really need to start taking care of your physical health, where you can go find something that'll work for you, to counseling, to support groups.
Now, is that something also that they could Google, do a search on Caregiver Navigator?
Yes, so you can Google the Idaho Family Caregiver Navigator Project, and we'll be the first ones to pop up. In Spanish, it's Navegantes de Idaho. So you can Google
That was
us.
much shorter than what you said in English, which is not usually the case. I'm just saying.
Just saying, but we made it a point to make sure we kept it short and sweet.
Very good, very good. And so again, emphasizing to, in particular, mom, daughter, that you need to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And it's easy to get pulled in many different directions.
Yes.
So, couple of interesting dynamics then. We've got grandma and grandpa maybe in the home or nearby. They don't have to be in the home necessarily for this. They could be nearby. And you know what? They saw the world differently than we do. It's not the same world. And so, yes, they have lots of advice on how things should run and how you should raise your kids or your relationship with your husband or whatever, right? So that's something to pay attention to. Now let's talk about it the other way around. I've seen it where the kids are wondering why grandma and grandpa are in the house anyway. Why are they here, you know? And do you ever have to mediate that with them, help them to understand?
I don't.
Very good.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, we were raised in that model, so it's not a new thing for us. If you weren't raised in that model, I think having that sit-down discussion, like I said, the family dinner is so underrated. And I understand a lot of us work, and it can't happen all the time at the same time. But, you know, a couple times a week, establishing that game time.
Got it. Oh, and Sunday dinner, that was huge.
Yeah, super huge, and for a reason, I
Yeah,
think.
very good. Now, the decline in grandma and grandpa. Tell us how that affects everything, and, you know, that I know has to put stress on the rest of the family, so help us.
So that was probably the hardest part for us. And it was especially hard for me because I was over here and working in the field. And then I had my grandma, you know, in New Mexico, so 1,200 miles away. And I couldn't really be there for her. And so it was really hard. It disrupted a lot of things within our family. And we really had to work at trying to remain calm, trying to be understanding of the other person's perspectives and what their abilities were and so on. You know, there was breakdowns in communication, but as long as we were able to identify them and move on, then it worked.
Well, so you have training.
Yes.
So identifying them and discussing them, it's something you can do.
Yeah.
What can other people be looking for? What is it that, you know, what triggers this? We got to have a sit down, Dad. We got to talk about this. So what triggers that?
So I think a lot of times, I'm going to be honest, and this isn't just something that I've seen within my own family, but with families that are very widespread, it takes a lot. It takes usually something to happen before everybody is kind of shook into like, oh, we need to talk about this. And a lot of times there's the blame game. So as soon as you start feeling resentful towards people and start feeling like you're not being
I feel
a part.
like that all the time now. So
Yeah.
I'll be,
Well, when it gets to a certain level, I guess, then you need to start thinking, okay, do I need to bring this up? Is this something that I think is really making me feel uncomfortable? Because the worst that can happen is your doubts are diminished, and that's it.
got it. So I would guess that that's a fairly high level of frustration. And we live in a society nowadays where we have a fairly high level of frustration most days. But feeling the stress, feeling the pull, these are all at least signals, right?
Yes. So learning your stress triggers, if we're going to talk about individuals, learn what your stress triggers are, learn what it feels like.
I got cut off in traffic today, just on the way here. He about took my bumper off. That was a trigger for me.
Yeah, that would kind of trigger me too.
Yeah, okay, just check.
That's normal. But, you know, learn what those feelings are. I will tell you that typically when people start feeling stress, the first things you feel is physical symptoms. So start paying attention to your body. Take that time to notice, is my heart pounding?
Yeah.
Just when I hear a name of someone.
Ooh.
Because that can happen. And if so, why? If so, why? It's not a bad thing. It just means that your body's reacting and giving you red flags and telling you, hey, watch out. You know, this.
Well, not everybody then has tools for dealing with that. And does this go back to some of the services that you can help connect them to?
Yeah. So as I said, with the Family Caregiver Navigator Program, when you call in, there's an assessment that we do that helps us decide, you know, it's based on a scientifically proven system, algorithm that says you might not realize it, but you're suffering from stress right now. You might be suffering from depression. You might have this. So, you know, call us. We can give you those resources, and you can use them. And if not, it's okay.
I think we're getting better, but in our present society, and I know within certain cultures, we don't want to get help, right? We've got to do this ourselves. we're old and we're male, and we can't do that. Do you find that something that happens a lot?
I think COVID, say the bad word right now,
Yeah.
has really kind of opened the door.
Got it.
It's really made us kind of be more aware of our limits. To where, if before it was kind of a thorn in your foot, now it's not something that really hurts. So even we've seen a lot of males that have called in. They might not be necessarily doing the full caregiver role, but their wives are, and their sisters are. And so they just don't know how to help. They don't need the help.
Got it. Yeah, I'm doing this
They
for
don't
my
need the
wife.
help.
I'm
I'm
doing this
doing
for
it
my,
for
not
her.
me. I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But
you would
in
encourage
talking
them
with
to
us-
call anyway.
Yes.
Now, if you're
definitely.
helping your wife out, 'cause
It's
it's
okay.
not you, it's okay.
Yes, because we'll be able to, usually once you get the person to get to that point where they realize they're a caregiver,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of open up and kind of have a sigh of relief, like, oh, okay.
Oh, this is natural.
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
what people go through.
Yeah.
This is what other males go through. So
yes.
it's okay.
Yes.
And drinking isn't necessarily the best,
Yes.
or other chemicals,
Yeah.
or yeah. Okay. So and is that something, powerful tools as caregivers? Again, that's something that would help people kind of identify this, understand their stressors and have triggers. And
Yes. Powerful Tool Givers has different tools that will help you identify your stressors and your triggers and how to deal with them, help you identify local resources. We go through a whole section to go through. How do you know where to reach out to?
Got it. Awesome. Now, you're the CEO, right? You're the one, I won't say bossy, but you're the one that kind of makes things go. Do you ever take time off? What do you do for yourself?
So for myself, I wish I had the funds to go and get massages all the time and stuff like that. But, I'm realistic. I have a family. So what I do is I go out camping. We camp a lot as a
very good.
family. Yeah, we love to camp, fish. I don't fish so much, but I watch my kids fish. And art. The great thing about COVID, again, is Zoom has created the possibility to do online art, which is so great because I never thought I could paint. I don't think I'm a great painter, but it's fun to follow along.
Oh, very good.
So there's a lot of different activities that you can find. I know AARP has a lot of great kind of programs that they do, meetups and stuff like that. So if you don't feel comfortable going out into the community, you can still meet people through there.
Oh, very good.
For people who are comfortable, go to the senior centers, go, meet people, go interact.
So it sounds like you've got a pretty good handle on those things that help you to de-stress, although camping with the kids isn't always stress-free. We got snowed on 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah, we were packing up in a 35-mile-an-hour wind and snow. That was not stress-free. Although it's a different kind of stress, so it does help. So you have a handle on those things for you. Recommendations for other people that maybe go, I don't have a hobby.
Yeah, so a lot of us did not have hobbies. I was guilty of not having a hobby, and like I said, learning about these new things that are available online. If you're into social media, Facebook, they have the events. They have online events there, and you can go through and kind of see. They have it's called Eventbrite, and
Oh, yes.
sometimes though they have lots of free events. They have support groups even. They have yoga online. if you just want to try.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what you're suggesting here is try it.
Try it. Find what calls you.
Well, and again, I was kind of joking, about the use of alcohol as a de-stressor. Unfortunately, too many people get into that, and it doesn't help. And so something else is a better idea.
Oh, yeah. So alcohol, unfortunately, is the okay drug. That's not
Yes.
okay. And it really affects people in the long term, especially if you already have depression and stuff. Drinking that alcohol just makes it that much worse. So finding something that'll kind of keep you occupied, keep you not thinking about those really big stressors just for a short time might help you. By no means am I an alcohol, recovery advisor, but definitely try and reach out. And if you do need extra help, reach out to us. We can help you find that help.
Got it. So we're not always self-aware. Like you said, you kind of have down what your triggers are, or at least you have an idea. A lot of people don't. Helpful to get a friend or a confidant or somebody that can go, Yvette, you're not doing well. Is that helpful?
It is helpful at times. I think at times when we're under a lot of stress, it feels like someone may be attacking us.
Yeah.
So Powerful Tools as Caregivers actually has a whole section as well on how to kind of understand how people are trying to communicate, understand that they're coming from a different perspective.
And they're trying to help.
Yeah. And, at times we might feel like it's critique, but it's really important to maybe not take everything into account that they're saying, but maybe at that time that means you need to talk to a counselor that's not biased, that doesn't know all these other things about you that you don't feel judgment from.
Very good. Very good. Okay, we got like 2 minutes left. A takeaway. What if they don't take anything else away from what you've talked about, what would you recommend? What's one takeaway that they should kind of hang on to?
So the one takeaway I would say is whether this is something that's normal, intergenerational families is normal in your life, or whether it's something new and you're looking to, I think any kind of research that you can do for yourself and your family will help. Google's a great tool. The other great tool is the Family Caregiver Navigator Program, because we can help point you in the right direction.
Very good.
And take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, especially if you're trying to kind of juggle different age groups, different, families. Take care of yourself.
We didn't even talk about competing cultural groups, which can create a lot of stress as well.
Yeah.
We'll save that for next time.
Yes, next time.
All right.
Yeah.
Yvette, thank you so much for being with us. There's help. You're not alone. I think that's maybe another takeaway.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this all by yourself. Area Agency on Aging, Google it. It's a great place to start. Yvette, thank you very much.
Thank you.